So, what is the best investment? What is the best? Excuse me, so odd. What is the best investment? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And no, it's not what you think, because the number one question that I have gotten time and time again, anytime that I start talking about investments, being an investor, having a financial background of any kind, is what do I buy? And so today I want to flip the conversation a little bit and have a kind of heart to heart around what I want you to understand as it relates to investing and investments. And we're going to talk about three main things today. Um, so, how to turn lemons into lemonade, how I want you to think about pivots, not pitfalls, and then how you want to think like an investor. And if you're watching me on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're watching me over on Instagram and or Facebook, I am going to leave this one up. I don't always leave the lives up because they live on YouTube. And truthfully, it's easier to watch them on YouTube because, hello, Instagram still hasn't gotten with the program and for whatever reason has removed the ability to rewind and fast forward. And you can do that very easily over on YouTube. If you're brand new to me, my name is Susan McVeigh, and I am a business sales and wealth strategist, a kingdom business builder, and a married mama of two. And I'm going to tell you, I have been trying to go live to produce this for 90 minutes. The minute that I tried to go live, can you hear that in my throat? The devil is a liar. I rebuke you. Okay. So the reason why, and this connects directly into the conversation today, is because I was divinely guided. I heard God say, go live, which I'm going live every day. And he gave me the topic, and it's a juicy one, right? And I knew immediately that this is connected to not just for me, but also for you. And so my laptop died. It literally, so I'm going to show folks on Instagram, YouTube. You're just going to have to bear with me for a minute. Look at that is, I don't know, the equivalent of the blue screen of death for like, look at that. Totally dead. Now you may be thinking, okay, Susan, that's all well and good, but then how are you doing this? So I promise you there is a point to this, because the reason why I'm sharing this is because sometimes we think that the thing, the laptop, the phone, the social media, we think that that is the solution. We think that that is the answer. We think that that is the golden ticket, right? And so often what we end up doing is that we keep chasing after the next best thing, the next best thing, the next best answer. Like, just around the corner, there is my pot of gold. Just around the corner is the answer, the solution, the thing that is actually going to give me what I desire the most. For most of my clients, that is financial freedom. For most of my clients, that is the dreams and the desires made manifest here in the 3D world called Earth. And the things that they have been praying for, the things that they have been asking God for, and the things that they know deep down inside that they are worthy and deserving to have. And so when something like this comes up, which is I know I was meant to do this today. But if I allowed myself to go, oh, it's too hard, it's just not working, maybe it's just not meant to be, and looked at the lemon that is my computer over here, which, side note, this is the third time and it's still not coming up, I would be in a woe is me sort of mentality. Now, we're going to start kind of all over the place with this one here because they're all integrated, this message. That is not how a true investor thinks, acts, or is. So when you become an investor, I want you to become invested in your life. I want you to become invested in your destiny. I want you to become invested in what God has for you. And more importantly, what you have for you, because you need to be an active participant in this game called life. And if we don't take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and say, I am determined, come hell or high water, that I am going to take what is mine, right? The Bible says that the violent take it by force. And so in this moment, I could have just said, it's too hard, it's too difficult, it's just not going to work, and let it go. But the investment that truly is the best investment is the investment in you. And that meaning like you are your best investment. Now, I've talked about this in lots of different ways, but today it hits a little bit differently, because can you still invest in yourself? Can you still believe in yourself when the chips are down, so to speak, when things look like it's not working? Like, am I really the best opportunity? Is this really the thing that I am meant to be doing? Should I even be going down this rabbit hole? And when you're faced with the greatest amount of adversity and fight, it is probably the time where you need to double down and press in the most. And sometimes it doesn't look like how you would normally do that. So I'll give you an example. So 90 minutes have gone by. I can look here and see this laptop still ain't working properly. Now, you may be hearing a buzzing or a whirring noise. That's because gratefully, I am using my kiddo's laptop, which was deader than a doorknob because it was just sitting on his floor, hadn't been charged, right? And so I had to get it all set up. So again, could have said, this is too hard. This isn't working. It's not, it's not coming together how it needs to come together. And could have been very frustrated. And instead I thought, okay, I know God is working in this because there was a feather literally beside my desk the minute that this happened. And so I knew, okay, I could blame this on all kinds of reasons, but in the midst of all of this, where is God? Where is my faith? Where is my belief? Where is my unwavering conviction in myself, in my own ability to be resourceful, to overcome, to figure things out, to look at this situation and say, hey, there's a lot of lemons here, but surely I can make lemonade. Surely I can see the good in this. Surely I can still believe that all things are being worked out for my highest good and power. What is the lesson here? What do I need to do? How do I need to persevere? How can I still get around this? And gratefully, I have options because I live in a modern world where I am privileged and grateful enough to have access to the basics and then some, right? So investors look at opportunities where other people look at problems. So here is an opportunity for me to show up, to teach, to guide, to lead myself first, because I had to be able to get over myself before I could even get on here to share any of what I'm about to share. But beyond that, I already had this particular topic planned out, right? And I already had an idea of what this needed to look like and sound like. And obviously now there's a different flavor, there's a different perspective and a frame around it that I wouldn't have had, a different appreciation that I can have now that I would have missed if all of this had not happened just minutes before or alongside of when I was planning to go on originally 90 minutes ago, right? So when you are an investor thinks for the long term. And that means that in the short term, when things go that you're not really disturbed. Is that difficult? Yeah, it is. It is really challenging to still believe that what you're doing is still the thing that you're meant to be doing in the face of dips, in the face of challenges. And that ties directly into message number 2, which is pivots, not pitfalls. Because when we're faced with something that looks like lemons and we're able to turn that into lemonade, we are essentially pivoting, right? We're looking at things through a different perspective. We may be looking forward and thinking, I'm going backwards. But what if you're actually looking backwards and now you're going in the right direction? Does this make sense? Right? And so I want us to think for ourselves. What if there's an opportunity here that you would not have otherwise been able to access because this is happening? What is this showing us? What is this teaching us? What could I learn? And what is my expert? Where is my expertise coming in? But more importantly, where is my unfair advantage? What is the advantage that I have that nobody else would have in this exact situation and moment? Well, let's just use some practical pieces here, right? Because I have a real life example of the best investment is always going to be you. Why? Because it's not a computer, right? My computer crashed. I don't even know if it's going to come up right now. Now it has a brand new battery. So there's no reason for it to do this. But God, there is a reason. And regardless of whether or not I know it today, it doesn't matter. It doesn't impact the actions that I'm going to take, because the thing that I am meant to do, the investment in me, is greater than one single piece of technology. It's greater than whether or not my computer works. It's greater than whether or not this laptop that I'm currently on has less than great image quality, less than great audio quality, because I'm just using the built-in microphone. Enough there. Like, these are things that I can't control in this moment, but what I can control is how I respond. What I can control is whether or not I persist. What I can control is whether or not I continue to follow the plan. And I have a plan. I have a strategy. I have a methodology and a framework for how I show up and deliver and do the things that I do, right? It's very strategic and it's very aligned and it's spirit-led, and then it's strategy and support and all of the other pieces that fall alongside. So if I allowed myself to go, woe is me, it's not working. It doesn't look the way that I want it to look. It's not going to show up the way that I want to show up. And I allowed myself to get so caught up in the small little minutia, right? Is it important? Yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, let me give you another example, right? Because again, we opened up with, what should I invest in? Well, that's often the wrong questions, right? So what should I be doing when my computer crashes because I want to go live? Well, I can go live just straight off of my phone. Now, gratefully, I have access to some backup computers. Is it the best? No, but it's what I got. So start where you are, right? If you right now have only $1 to invest in your financial future, then where do I think you'd be best served? Always investing in yourself, investing in your education, investing in increasing your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, increasing your network, the people that you are around, right? Jim Rohn says that we are the sum of the 5 closest people to us. And I believe that that is still true today, because when you start to spend a lot of time with people, guess what happens? You start to act like them, you start to think like them, you start to look like them, right? That's why couples, I mean, my husband and I have been together 26 years now. And although we're different races, there's very, very distinct similarities when you look at the two of us, the way that we start to act and think and talk and behave. And you see this a lot with people and their pets, with their dogs especially, which is always a little bit of a funny thing. But it goes to show that the brain and how we behave are inextricably linked. And so if you are making investments externally to you and constantly chasing after external as the end all and be all, right? This is why the Bible says, like, a rich man can't enter heaven, because you're attached to the things that you have. Those things are important and you get to have them. But is your intention, or is your faith, and is your belief in something else other than you? And I believe, which, I mean, the Bible tells us this, that God is in you. You are the temple of God, right? And so you house God within you. Now, are you God? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. But you house God. So you have divine power, insight, intellect, knowledge, wisdom, understanding when you allow yourself to operate in a way that is Christ-like, that is like God intended. And so when we tap into that piece of us, right, that's why I firmly believe that the best investment that you can ever make is yourself. Because here's what happens. If you were to lose it, could you regain it? Well, only if you have the know-how, you have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the experience. And if you believe that you are your best investment, then you're not going to be afraid of losing it all. You're not going to be afraid if your computer shuts down. You're not going to be afraid if something happens and somebody steals your idea, right? Are you going to take appropriate action? Sure you are, because you have the knowledge, the intellect, the resources, the know-how. But that's what happens when you see yourself as your best investment. So here's what I want us to think about. If because an investor thinks long-term, and that means you get something that goes bump in the night, boom, something happens, right? There's an unexpected expense. There's some kind of catastrophic event, a flood, a hurricane, like something that you can't control. You can't even say, oh my gosh, I knew that was going to happen, right? Like there's always these things that happen that we don't always have advanced knowledge of. So if that's the case, and all of a sudden, God forbid, but all of a sudden, right, everything was wiped out, what would you do? What would you do? Because an investor would, I mean, we're human, right? An investor gets upset and says, gosh, that's not what I wanted, but I can rebuild. I can rebuild because I have the knowledge, the skills, the expertise, the wisdom that I've gained because I've continually invested in myself. And I've taken the time to learn from those experiences. I've looked at every situation and said, where there's lemons, can I make lemonade? Where there's a pitfall, is it actually an opportunity for me to pivot? Is it a time for me to lean into faith and believe even bigger than what I already believed? And so the thing that drove me here is that, in case you missed the beginning, this message was originally intended almost 2 hours ago now, but my computer, and in case you can hear like extra noise, it's because I'm on a borrowed computer. It's my son's computer, which he hasn't used since the end of school. That's some weeks ago. And my computer, which I'm looking at right over here, has got like the black screen of death because it's a Mac. Okay. And so I don't know what's going on with it. I'm trying to address and fix it. But I know that regardless of what happens with that, that is not the key to how I help people. I am, you are, right? And so the best investment that we can ever make is in ourselves. So here's what I want us to ponder is, if right now you're looking at, well, I'm just going to keep investing in blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that you don't invest in other things, right? If you were to invest more in yourself and see yourself as the best investment, you would make different decisions. I guarantee it, right? And that means that you would be more confident in the choices and the decisions that you make for all the other investments that you're making. So whether you're investing in the real estate market, the stock market, fixed income, cash, bonds, crypto, really anything, other businesses, it doesn't matter. The vehicle is not really important. The main thing here is that you, being the best investment, would be able to fully understand and appreciate how those other assets, these other investments, would fully align to your end goal, vision, dreams, desires, outcomes, where you want to be, right? And knowing that it's a journey, we evolve as we go along. So we're never fully there, right? We're always in the process of evolving and becoming better and better and better and better, being perfected, so to speak. So if you had more confidence in yourself because you firmly were convicted and believed that you are the best investment, what would you do differently? How would you approach life? How would you overcome the obstacles, the challenges, the struggles that show up day to day? Because I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter how great your life is, nobody has it 100%. Nobody, because we're human and we don't control other humans in our lives, even the very littlest of people or pets, right? Try as you might. There's no way that you can do that 24/7. And so that being the case, then we can agree that there is no way for us to have 100% of the time. You can still have a great life. I have a great life. You have a great life. And that doesn't mean that we all still don't have something that we want to improve or that we get to improve and we get to put and pour some attention to. We get to invest our time, our effort, our energy, and our resources, including money. So how I want us to think about this is here. If you were to invest $1,000, knowing that it would get you back 10,000, would you do it? Too often what I see happening is that people do these things not knowing whether or not it's going to work, right? But here's what I know. And here's what I want to remind you is that any time that I have invested in myself, and I want you to think about for yourself, anytime that you have invested in yourself, think back to even like college, right? You made an investment in your education for your financial future. Now, does it turn out exactly as you planned? For most people, no, it doesn't turn out exactly. But the reality is that you make that investment not fully always knowing that here's what I'm going to get. But you're pretty confident that if I'm going to invest in a college degree, university degree, I invest X amount, right? Maybe it's 100 grand, 200 grand, whatever it is. And from that investment, I expect I'm going to finish school. I expect that I'm going to have a degree or a diploma. I expect that that is going to do something for me. Now, oftentimes we are expecting that degree or diploma to also do something else above and beyond what the initial investment is. But that is a mistake. That's where we get disappointed. That's where we get stuck because we're believing that that investment needed to do more than what it is that was actually told to us. Like going to university doesn't guarantee you a job. No university that I have ever been part of has ever said, you do this and we'll guarantee you a job. Now, there is an expectation that if I do this, I'm going to get paid more based off of the data, the information, the experience of other people, right? Just the collective knowledge. We kind of agree that that is a situation that is much more likely to happen than if you don't. But the reality is there is no such thing as go to college, get a good job. Go to college, guaranteed to get paid well. Hello, that wasn't my experience at all, right? And so when we understand that when I make this investment in myself, I am the one that if I do the work, if I show up, if I do what it takes to get the outcome, then I'm going to learn the knowledge, the skills, the wisdom, the experience such that I can reasonably expect to get an outcome. Now, sometimes the outcomes that we want are not the ones that we need the most. And I guarantee that if you let go of here's what I think I'm supposed to get and just be open to receiving, what is it that I am meant to receive? What is it that I'm meant to learn? What is it that I'm meant to get? Because there's something that I need from this program. There's something that I need from this investment. There's something that I need from this experience, that when I make these investments in myself, that it allows me to understand how I can improve my situation, such that if faced with this circumstance over and over again, that I respond differently. And to me, that is learning, that is experience, that is advancement, that is going from here to here to here. That is the up level that we're all looking for. That should then be demonstrated in the outward appearance of what we experience in this 3D world called regular old life. Make sense? So the best investment is not about chasing a stock or a bond or a crypto or another piece of property. Those are all good. But in order for you to feel confident about the decisions that you're making, any place in your life, because you're an investor in all areas, you invest your time, you invest your energy, your effort, your focus, your love, your peace, right? You invest in the relationships that matter most to you. You invest in all of these different pieces of your life. You invest your time and your money. And when you are able to understand that you are the best investment, and when you take the time to recognize how valuable you are, that investing $1,000 into your financial future, such that you can have the opportunity to turn that into 10,000 or more, then you're going to be able to properly assess what opportunities make the most sense for you. Not because you're looking for get rich quick, not that that's necessarily a bad thing to get rich quick, but not that you're looking to gamble, because too often what we're doing is we're putting a lot of faith and conviction in something that's outside of ourselves, because we believe that that is a better opportunity than believing in ourselves and believing in our own ability to make the sound decisions and understand what is best for us. So we abdicate the responsibility to somebody else, thinking that because I've made this investment, because I've given you this money, that you have now more power and control over me, that the situation and the circumstances that I'm currently facing that maybe I don't really enjoy are going to influence the next steps, my thoughts, my beliefs, my actions, and who I get to be. Does this make sense? So the best investment, and you can agree or not, that's your prerogative, but in my experience, working with hundreds of thousands of people, anytime that you have increased your ability to learn, to understand, to experience, and to gain more skills, which is an investment in yourself, that has paid off way more than any one single investment. When you learn, when you experience, when you understand, when you gain more wisdom, right? And does that mean that you need to invest in those opportunities? Yeah, it does. It means that you invest your time. It means that you invest your focus and your attention. It also means that you may be investing your money, but kind of throwing it out haphazard, willy-nilly, simply because you're thinking, well, here's the promise, here's the outcome. Like, I've seen a lot of people get rich doing this, but not properly understanding, am I investing in myself through this thing? Does this make sense? Like, that's how an investor thinks. An investor knows that just because I bought this property, that property is not necessarily the thing. Like, because I just saw somebody, they were an investor, and I think it was like $1 million investment in a property. It was a whole project with a nonprofit. And unfortunately, the whole project went up in flames, like literally up in flames. And so they just had a moment where their human selves were quite upset, understandably so. Because imagine if you had just purchased land, property, you had spent some time to gather all the troops, right? Like, get all of the workers. They had already started to break ground. They were already starting to make the building happen. And you had this dream and this vision that this is not just for you, but this is going to impact the world at large, the community that you've placed this project within, right? It was a housing project for a nonprofit. That's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And then to have a fire whip through and it's gone. Now they have the raw resources, but they have to essentially start over. And this is why I shared before that an investor never worries about if they lost it all, because we don't know if that could happen. Now, I pray that that does not happen for any of us. But I mean, there's certain things that happen in life that we don't get to control. And we don't always have full understanding of why things happen. And we may never understand on this side of heaven, right? We just have to keep going and chugging along, knowing and understanding that it's all being worked out, how it needs to work out. So this project had such a great response. And this is the difference between somebody who is an investor and somebody who is not, right? A gambler would go, oh my God, all my money's gone. What do I do? Because they haven't thought it all the way through. And also because they don't understand that the best investment was not actually in the property itself. It was not in the actual project itself. It was in them. It was in them. They were the best investment, that they believed enough about the project that they were able to put it together, and that if it didn't go through the way that it needed to go through, that surely there was a different plan. And that's exactly what they said, right? When I watched this and I saw and I heard God say, you know, there is a different way that he's going to help them build that. And they might not understand that yet. They're obviously going through a grieving process, which understandably, you just saw $1 million investment just go up in flames, and now you have to start again. So there's time, energy, resources, the people that you have put together, the people that are waiting for these homes on the other end, and knowing that, oh my gosh, there's a lot of disappointment, there's a lot of grief, like all of the things that are human are going to come up. But if you are able to understand that if you invested in yourself, in an opportunity that could help you to move forward faster, simpler, easier, right? That if you made an investment of $1,000, knowing that it would help you to know how to create 10,000 or more, right? Because once you have the knowledge, nobody can take that knowledge away from you. That's why you are your best investment. Does it mean that every time that you try to do a thing, it's going to work every single time? No, it's not. Because I'll tell you, after almost 30 years, 40 years of investing, I'm still human. I still don't get it right all the time, right? I still react and do things that I think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that, right? I have been scammed. I believe in people, and even though the numbers don't always make sense, I still do it anyways, right? Will I stop doing that? No, because I don't want to lose the humanity of me, but I do hope and pray and expect that because of the learnings that I learn along the way, that I am sharper, I am much higher discerning, and that I'm applying the wisdom of the investment that you would think, well, Susan, you just said you just lost money. Doesn't that mean you didn't make an investment? No, because I made the investment in me. The opportunity might not have turned out the way that I wanted, right? Like if I thought, well, I'm investing 4,000 and I expect this to turn into 20, and instead it's all gone. I could sit here, and this is where the turning lemons into lemonade. I could sit here and go, woe is me. I just lost $4,000. Insert whatever. At the beginning, it was $4, right? At the beginning of my journey, it was $4. So it meant the same amount as like 4,000 does today, even 40, right? 400. It doesn't matter what the number is for you. But to be able to look at that situation and say, I'm still learning. I'm still evolving. What did I need to learn? And what would I do differently? How would I approach that? I can see that I actually was acting as a gambler, which is my number one rule. I broke my own rule. Why? because I was reacting, because I was being emotional, because I was operating from my human self, which we are human, right? It's going to happen. But how can I not quite avoid, right? Because we don't want to avoid something. How can I take hold of an opportunity that might show up that's like this again? Because I don't want to limit myself and say, well, I don't want to have opportunities where I could turn 4,000 into 20,000, right? I want to have the opportunity where if I invest in myself, if I invest in an opportunity, if I look at here, I'm going to give you a bonus. If I get an idea for something and I go, okay, I'm going to move on that really quickly, I don't allow the past situation of, oh, it didn't work. Like, oh my gosh, they stole my idea. Oh my gosh, I saw somebody, as soon as I came up with this, they went in and they copied everything that I had and did the same thing. And it hurt, right? Like it hurt me as a human. It hurt my human sensibilities. And it allowed me to stop that time. But this time, I am prepared for the fact that, yeah, when you're a trailblazer, when you're a pioneer, when you're somebody who goes first, when you have new and innovative ideas, even if it's something that improves or iterates on something else that somebody else has done, that you're invested in your future, you're convicted towards the vision, that you don't allow other people to deter you. And I have, maybe you have, right? Maybe that's why this is coming up right now. And that instead, I look at it and say, okay, here's a lemon. Here's a lemon. How do I turn this into lemonade? How do I squeeze out the juice, add some sugar, right? Add some honey, add some flavor. Maybe I make this into lavender lemonade. How do I put my unique spin on this? And how do I keep iterating? And how do I keep learning and advancing and growing such that I don't let that seed, that $1,000 investment that I've put into myself, that I expected to turn into 10 over and over and over again, because I'm the one that's working that idea. I'm the one that's working that investment in order to improve and to go, okay, I've gained confidence. Now I've invested here. What else could I invest in? Okay, did I learn something from that? What else could I invest in? To take that idea and say, okay, I know that other people are going to copy me, but watch, just watch, right? Because you can't do the things that I do because you are not me. You are you, and you're going to do it how you do it, which is fine. But at some point, it's not going to do what you think it's going to do because you're not invested in you. You are invested outside of you. You are invested in a hope, a dream, a prayer, thinking that the idea that is outside of you, external to you, not aligned to you, not something that you're already calling forth and drawing in because of faith and conviction, that is the reason why it's going to work, when that's not the reason why it's working at all. It's because you're working your faith to be able to move, Jesus, in grace towards the very thing that you already know is going to happen because you're that invested, right? So let's give one more practical piece here. Let's say you have a dream, a desire to become a millionaire, and you know that you need to invest. So chances are you're here and you're like, yes, Susan, that's me. I want to know, where should I put my money? Again, I'm going to always tell you, bet on you. Bet on you big. Because if you're willing to do the work, it doesn't matter what the investment is. It's going to work for you. Okay? Because you know who you are first, right? So if you chase after stock tips, can you make money? Yes. But I guarantee you, along the way, you're going to lose peace of mind. You're going to create more fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, because you might not be able to hold that money. And so if you gain more wisdom and understanding around who you are, whose you are, how you operate best, then can you find the opportunities that are going to align? Yeah, you can, right? Yeah, you can. So I'll give you an example. I'm a risk taker. You may or may not be, but chances are if you follow me, there's an element of risk because you can't be an entrepreneur without being okay with risk. Entrepreneurism is not for the faint of heart, and it is not for the faint of faith, meaning you have to have faith and belief in something bigger than you because, baby, my God, I mean, it's the only way that you can birth all these things that have never been done before, right? So this was a few years back. I said, I haven't had an opportunity to be an angel investor. Now, don't at me in the comments, okay? Because I pray over these things. They come to me divinely. I'm always guided by God and Jesus and Holy Spirit. So that's not to say, don't share, but don't specifically like try and pitch me, because that's not how this works for me. Okay. I have a system. But I had pondered and I said, I'd really like the opportunity to invest in female businesses and to be able to look at an opportunity to be an angel investor. So an angel investor is just a private investor, meaning you invest in another company like you would invest in, let's say, a Coca-Cola or an IBM or a Disney. Okay. Those are public companies. And so most people are not angel investors in public companies. That's before they go public. Okay. So these are private companies typically. They're the ones where you would hear about, oh, they got some venture capital funding. That's the realm that we're talking about. And so if you're a business owner, you could actually get investments from angel investors. And that's what one of these companies had done. And as I stumbled upon it, it literally was just like, I'd like to be an angel investor. Boom, here's a post. If you're looking for an opportunity to support a small business that's become big business, here is a company that's looking for private funding. And I said, oh, check. Now, that company needs this money to grow, right? So there was no promise of here's what you're going to get, because they could go belly up, right? So why would I invest in something like that? Because I believe in me. And I believe that when I make decisions that are aligned to me and I invest for the long term, that it's going to work out. And even if it doesn't, even if that particular investment does not pay off the dividend that I believe that it will, I'm not attached to them. I'm not attached to their company. I believe in them. I believe in their vision. I believe in their mission. I believe in what they do. I believe in the quality of their products. I believe in the founders, one of which is a woman, right? I believe in them. I believe in their story. But at the end of the day, if they decided to pivot and change and shift and move into a different direction, would that impact or influence me as a human? No, not necessarily, because I'm not attached to the money that I've invested in that company, right? I'm invested in me. I'm invested in the fact that I believed that this was an opportunity that was right for me, right? And at such time that it is no longer aligned, I will make a different decision. But because I have that conviction, because I believe that the best investment that I will ever make is in me, is in my ability to make better decisions, in my ability to have more faith and conviction in myself, in my ability to not only have more knowledge, but also to gain the skills, the wisdom, the understanding, and the experience, because I have already done that work, right? And I will continue to do that work. The best investment for me personally, and you can agree or not, is always going to be betting on myself, because I don't control what goes on out here. I don't control what Disney does. I don't control what Coca-Cola does. I don't control what the banks do, right? These are all places I have invested money in. Probably you have too, because chances are if you have a pension of any kind, a retirement fund of any kind, I guarantee you, unless you're individually choosing all of your investments, part of your portfolio is invested in the top 3 biggest companies in the world, because that's how people make money. Does this make sense? So I want you to know that if you were, so let's again break this down into a practical piece. If you're given an opportunity, because most people are investing, most people are gambling when they actually think that they're investing, and most people who are investing, other people think that they're gambling because they don't understand the basics. Okay. And it's because you need to think first like an investor. So an investor will always take the play where I'm going to bet on myself. And this is why, if you've seen it on Shark Tank, They're investing in the people. They're not investing in the product per se. Now, that can be part and parcel of it, but they're investing in the people, right? The person, because they know, hey, you had a great idea and you're willing to see it all the way through. How many times have you heard them say, you know, I like you, but you're not there, like, because you're not committed, you're not driven, you're not ambitious, you're not willing to do what it takes, you don't know your numbers, like you don't know enough. And because they're making the investment in themselves to know that, hey, this investment I am making in this other opportunity has to align with who I am, they've already made the investment in them. That's why they can say that. Does this make sense? So when other people don't come up to that level, to the level of the investment that they've made in themselves, it's a hard pass. It is a no dog. We're not going to pass go on this one, right? You got to go and improve yourself and then come back. That's why the best investment is always going to be in you. If you invest $1,000, right, and you're being told you're going to learn the skills, the knowledge, the experience in order to make, create, earn, invest, receive 10,000, 100,000, or even more, right? That is a bet that I'm going to take every single time. And the world is going to look at that and say, you're crazy. Like, how are you going to do that? How am I not? How am I not? Why would I invest in another company that, tries to tell me the same thing? And we try to do this. We try to find an investment out there that is going to pay us back, 10 to 1. And then we think, well, is that too good to be true? Yeah, most of the time it is. I'm just going to be real. Most of the time it is. Right? But at the same time, if you are able to invest in yourself, to learn the skills, to have the knowledge, to gain the experience, to gain the wisdom, then it doesn't matter what happens around you. You're going to be able to take the lemons and turn them into lemonade. You're going to take the pitfalls and instead be able to pivot. That's how an investor thinks. They're going to go, hey, this is a problem. I can make money from this. What is my solution? What is my big business idea? Look at Sarah Blakely. It has turned into a global empire, a movement, dare I say, from cut off pantyhose, that all the men that were in the industry, because there were no women, there were no female leaders in the industry. Ladies, we got to rise up. We need to have power. We need to have money. We need to have a voice. We need to create the tables. And we need to think like investors think, right? Investors will always take and double down on themselves. This is what Sarah Blakely did. So whether or not you believe in who she is or how she is or any of that, I'm just talking straight up facts, business facts, okay? The fact of the matter is she had a brilliant idea, but nobody else believed her. Nobody believed her. How do you have that kind of conviction and be able to, she was beat down. She was laughed out of these meetings. These men tried to tell her, I don't think that's going to work. Nobody's going to want that. And you will have this too when you're investing in yourself. You will have this when you invest in whatever it is. And this could be a stock, a bond, a crypto, real estate, your children. You could be investing to move somewhere because God said, right? When you have these divine moments of inspiration that you can't fully explain or even understand or comprehend yourself, but yet you're going to take the bet on yourself. And it's going to look like a bet to everybody else until it's not, because that's what faith is. That's what faith does. And so for Sarah Blakely to think and dream bigger than anybody else could even imagine at the time, because nobody had created this. Right? Nobody had created this. But it was a problem for so many women that nobody was willing to talk about, right? The lumpy bumpies, like the panty lines, like I want to be able to wear white pants or white clothing and not have to worry about, is my butt showing? Is something else showing? Right? And that has turned into now a spin-off of all of these other Spanx products from one little idea, that the men were like, there, lady. She invested in herself before anybody else would. She had to pay money to get her prototype. She had to spend a lot of time and effort and energy selling other people on her idea. She didn't take no for an answer, right? So she took that bet that if I invest, she didn't have a lot of money, right? She's very upfront. She was working and selling these orders out of her tiny house, right? And it doesn't matter if you're in a better place, right? We don't always have to have a rags to riches story. I certainly don't. We were not poor, but we were not rich, right? My parents were immigrants, but we always had enough, just enough, right? We couldn't open up the door to more and understand the world of money, understanding how rich people actually operate and think and how to approach the world that we live in, and knowing that the person that I can always count on is myself. Because listen, you're with you 24/7. You're with you 24/7. So the most important person in your life is not your husband. It's not your wife. It's not your kids. It's not your grandma. It's not your grandpa. It's not anybody else. It's you. It's you. So when you up-level your skills and you are convicted, so here's the difference that I want us to be very clear on. Because can you just like let it rain, throw money around and be like, that's the answer, that's the solution, I'm just going to keep investing in myself because Susan told me if I just invest in myself, then I'm always going to have a payoff? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the best investment is always going to be you. Because when you up-level your skills, your knowledge, experience, and you're willing to do the work, right? So does paying money and sowing seeds and investing, does it shift things for you? Yes, it can, right? The minute that I made that angel investment, and it wasn't a lot, it wasn't certainly a big percentage of my overall portfolio, but the minute I did that, guess what it did for me? I am now an angel investor. I get to say that, right? And guess what happened? Other people just, these random opportunities kept showing up. And I've invested in some, said no to more, right? Because it doesn't align. And so because of that, what I want you to think about is it instantly shifted how I saw myself and the actions that I take. So some of you, sometimes you have to just make an investment, not knowing exactly, can I do this? But believing that you can and showing up for yourself with the faith and the conviction that just because I paid this money, just because I enrolled in a class or a workshop or a course or hired a coach or a mentor, I'm going to now do the work, right? And it doesn't have to be hard. And no, you don't have to squeeze out every last penny because that comes from lack, right? Right? Because sometimes we're like, I'm going to follow everything to a T because I need to get my money's worth. Where are my Asians? I got it such a great deal, right? I love getting deals. I think we should all buy stuff on sale. That's how we're good stewards of our money. But today, what I want us to think about is just making an investment. Can that unlock something for you? Sure, it can, right? That's a biblical principle, sowing seeds. But the fruit often comes when we do the work to actually see the seed become fruit, right? So we weed, we have to water, we have to nurture those plants, we have to wait because most crops do not grow overnight, although God can breathe on anything, right? And so there are absolutely suddenly kairos miracle type moments that can happen. But for the majority of us, we have to be able to show up and do the work. Now, does that mean that you're weeding all the time? No, that's why I said, like, you don't have to squeeze out every last penny of every last investment. You have to think, I'm the investor. I get to invest in myself. What do I need? And am I taking and expecting that I'm going to receive what it is that I need the most? I may want something out of this. I may want to earn $10,000 because I've invested in a program that's going to give me that expectation, right? Invest 1,000 and it's going to help me to make $10,000. It makes sense. If I sign 3 clients at $3,000, I'm pretty well close to that. I'm going to learn a system that's going to help me to do that. But what if there's one thing out of that entire program that is like a hidden gem that shifts your perspective such that you can actually do the other stuff that maybe you invested in before, but it just wasn't the right time. It just wasn't working. Maybe you were in advance, right? I've had this happen many, many times where I've invested in programs and I have beaten myself up because I didn't understand this originally. And I thought, well, I have to go to every single class. I have to learn every single thing. I have to try and implement every single piece. And I exhausted myself because that's not always how things are meant to be done. And to have the faith and the conviction and the confidence and the ability to say, I know myself best because I've invested in myself. This is an investment in me, right? To be able to say, I trust and know and have faith that when this opportunity comes up, I can move on it. And if I can't, what do I need? And I go and I find that. I go and invest in that. I go and discern this. I go and make decisions aligned to that. Then things move faster. Then I get better outcomes, not because I've done more and not because I've sat through and been with my coaches for eons or spent hours dissecting something. It's because I have made an investment, I've let go of the outcome, and I've understood that whatever it is that I want to happen as the goal, it could happen in lots of different ways. And I'm open to receiving however it's going to show up, right? So the last thing that I will share, because I want us to improve, right? And as I said before, I don't always get it right because I'm human. And the theory and the experience of what I'm doing, I know it works, but sometimes my human has to catch up. So I can share this piece. So I journal every day, which I would highly recommend that you do. It's a very simple practice that helps you to retrain your brain very quickly. So that morning I was journaling, praying, and I heard God say, so I was just setting some goals, different types of goals. And one of the goals was an income goal, which I hate saying that, but it wasn't really like an income. It was just like a dollar value. And so I wrote down 250,000 and immediately I heard God say 400. I said, okay, yeah, I'm here for it. Let's go. So I wrote 400,000. Didn't think much of it. It kept coming up. Well, it didn't manifest for over a year. Now, at the time that happened, I had different goals attached to how I wanted money to come in. And so I was expecting money to come in this way. In fact, it came in multiple ways, but they were over here. And when they showed up, I couldn't recognize it for what it was. So I thought that this money here was now, I had different plans. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do this with that. I'm going to make it grow even more. I'm going to have it just. I was attached to the outcome. I was attached to, and I had put rules around how I was prepared to receive. So this money that came very fast with me being able to do very, very little at all. Like, in fact, it felt like I didn't work for it. I certainly didn't work hard for it. It required me to work. I was taking actions, but the actions that I was taking, it didn't line up or make a lot of sense to me at the time. Looking back, right? Because that's what Steve Jobs says. We can connect the dots looking backwards. It's really hard to do that looking forwards. All of a sudden, it became very clear. But at the time, I was so tunnel vision on, I have a goal. This is how it needs to come in. This is what I need to do. These are the actions that I'm taking. Here's the step-by-step. and I haven't worked the whole plan yet. So this isn't, nope, this is for something else. And let me do it this way. Way harder. I was doing it way harder. So difficult. And let me tell you, the minute so here's the lesson, because again, this was an investment in myself, right? The punchline of that story is it went up 400K, crashed, went back down. Will it go back up? I'm sure it will, but it is a fraction of the amount. Now, is it more than what I put in? Yes, it is. So I'm still ahead, but I'm going to, when you go like this, it is a roller coaster ride, and you have to be able to weather that storm emotionally without beating yourself up. I will say that my human self felt like a punching bag, right? And I realized that for myself, that I still had to work on receiving. I had to work on receiving because I had rules around how I could receive. That's for somebody right now. I had rules on how I could receive. Maybe we'll talk about this tomorrow, okay? Because giving and receiving are two opposing actions, but they're very much related, right? So if you're a giver, you have to be able to receive. And most people are giving. The ladies, I'm talking to us, and we can't receive properly. We can't receive properly. It feels very threatening to receive. So that was the biggest lesson for me, was, Susan, how can you receive? Can you receive 400,000 without having to do any work? I had received 100,000 without having to do any work easily, but it felt different. It felt expected. And I realized, oh, I was not expecting this. I said I was expecting it, but I actually wasn't expecting it because I had rules on the route, right? The route, ROUTH, the pathway of how it got to come in, right? Not understanding that I am always the best investment. You are always the best investment. And this is why then you can get back on the horse, right? And stop beating yourself up over, oh my gosh, 400K. I can stand here laughing about this today because I know exactly how to not do that again, which I'm going to tell you is the biggest lesson. Because can you imagine if that was 4 million or 40 million or 400 million, right? I can now hold on to the experience of more and more and more and more because I'm okay to receive however it's going to come in without me having to work hard for it. And I can challenge the beliefs of the people around me as a result. So the last example that I'm going to give you, because I think sometimes it's easier to hear stories, right? That's why Jesus taught so much in parables, but it's easier to relate in stories because then your brain doesn't have to figure out, how do I do this? Like, let that go for just a minute, right? Because the how-to will show up when you're ready to actually implement. The how-to will show up, and sometimes it's like one of those things, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? Some of you may be ready to work with me. And if that's the case, send me a message. So the reason why this all showed up was because my computer that I wanted to go live and do this message on is not working. It's not working. Okay. That's the precipice, or the tipping point of why we got on here. And this message was always meant to be the message, but it just has come out differently, I think much more powerfully, because of this experience that I've just literally had and in the midst of right now, so that I can say I still have faith that this computer that was just battery replaced like not even a month ago is not the answer for me. Now, that might be strange because I predominantly work 100% online, mostly from my phone, but also from my computer. There's certain things that I can only do from a computer, right? So I'm looking at you, computer, and I know that I'm resourceful enough that I can figure this out, or I can get help. So I'm open to however this is going to work out, right? And on YouTube, you might be wondering, well, but Susan, if you don't have a computer, how are you on here? Because I'm resourceful. I'm my best investment. And I said, Susan, so first I praised, worshiped, I was dancing, I had a dance party and I was like, nope, this isn't going to get me down because I'm still going to show up. I'm going to still show up, not as my worried self, like, oh my God, how is this going to work? But as the fullest expression of who God created me to be, so that I can demonstrate to you what it's like to hold both, to be able to say that this is challenging me right now, but I get to still show up and be okay with whatever is going to happen, not knowing what the answer is yet. I don't. I've tried a few things, whatever, right? So I don't know why that needed to happen for somebody. Here's the practical example. I guess over a year ago, okay, we were selling. So my husband wanted a new car. He got that, manifested that. That was all a God moment. Done, right? All paid for fast, because again, he was open to however this money is going to come in, but he already had set in an expectation that this is what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to do this in order to get that. And because he was willing and he was open, money showed up. That wasn't how he planned. It was an unexpected blessing. Praise God. So then we go to sell the car. It was a used car. It's like 15 years old. Okay, it was a 15-year-old car and been in a major car accident. It was in the car accident that was the significant one for me, right? So the car accident that turned into a breakdown, breakthrough, yada, yada. If you haven't heard that story, I'm sure it's somewhere on my pages somewhere, okay? We took it to a used car dealership because we were trying to figure out how do we get rid of this thing. And it's no longer for us. Like, we don't want to have extra cars. So we took it to a used car dealership and we had in our mind what we wanted for the car. It wasn't very much in our minds. It was reasonable. And we hadn't done any research, like just pie in the sky, just took a number out of thin air. And it wasn't a huge amount, but my husband and I were basically on the same page. We thought, great, simpatico. We go to this used dealership and he comes out, takes it for a drive. He's gone for a long time with my husband. I was waiting there because I'm like, well, what happens if we sell this car, right? What happens if we sell this car? Then he has to come home with me. I can just leave him there. So I was waiting. And I thought, what's going on? Like, where did they go? We don't live in a very big city. So they finally get back. And then another guy comes out. And this other guy looks all over the car and they start talking and they have these numbers and looking at the phone and entering the stuff. And then the other guy says, can I take it for a drive? Okay, yeah, takes it for a drive. And then their mechanic comes out, looks at the car, takes it for a drive, parks it. And then they all come to say, well, you're not going to be happy with our number, because it needs this and this and this, and I'm going to have to fix this and this and this. And we said, yeah, okay, just give us the number. No biggie, right? Like, we're not attached to the number. We're not attached to this car. It's done us well, and now it's served a purpose, and we're off to the next one. It was less than half of what we wanted. Now, I'm all for enterprise, right? I'm all for enterprise, because I think that if we're business people and we are angry or agitated or judgy against other people making money for their living, it's going to be reflected in how we show up, right? You can't bemoan somebody else for sound. Let me preface that with sound business practices, because they're making more money than you, or they're doing things differently than you, right? So I'm all for profit. So I think when we do good things, we make good money, we can help do good things in the world with that money. So it was less than half of what we had wanted, which we had told them, here's what we're looking for. It's like, oh yeah, no, you're not going to be able to get that. That's not what we're going to be able to get you, because I still have to sell it. And I said, yeah, I recognize you're going to have to sell it, but I'm pretty sure you could sell it giving us the amount that we wanted. And he said, yeah, this is the top number that we can give you. Okay. And I said, okay, yep, thanks, but no thanks. And it felt like a Pretty Woman moment, right? Like, I want you to have that conviction where I can do it. I can do it. Snub my nose at you, just like how Sarah Blakely did it, right? That faced with over and over and over again, overwhelming proof from well-meaning men that kept telling her, this isn't going to sell. I don't think women are going to want this. Like, this isn't a thing. Are you sure you want it to look like that? That they tried to get her to change her mind. They tried to get her to say that that wasn't the right thing. That now this man didn't do any of that. But the impression that he gave me was, you're making a big mistake because I don't think that you can actually sell this thing. Now, he had no idea what I do for a living, right? He has no idea, no clue what I do for a living, nor should he. I didn't introduce myself and be like, do you know who I am? None of that, because it doesn't matter. But I know what I know, and I know what I can do. And although I am not a car salesman, a car is a, whether it's this, it doesn't matter. Sales is sales is sales. When you understand the value of what it is that you deliver, and that includes you, because you are your best investment. When you're able to position yourself in the marketplace as somebody who is very unique and different and cutting edge, right, innovative, then other people might not get you, and that's okay, right? He didn't get me. That's okay. He underestimated me, and he knew that after. Because here's the kicker. Here's the punchline. You're going to want to stick around to the end of this story because it's a good one. And I think I may have shared this before, but it's been a while. And I said, okay, thanks, but we're going to just do it on our own. And my husband knew, because I mean, you can't be with somebody for 26 years and not know, right? And my husband knew I'm in business, and I did. And I take care of all of these things because this is my zone of genius. This is my wheelhouse. And so that night, we had a family dinner to go out to. And immediately when we got home, so I had a very small window of time, and I could have said, I don't have enough time. The car is not perfect, like any of this stuff. I didn't do any of that. Because I was like, I know what I know, and I'm doing this now. So I was convicted, right? I was convicted. Now, I want you to think, what are you convincing yourself of? Because convinced and convicted are the same root word, right? Convict. Convinced and convicted are the same root word. Are you convincing yourself that it's not possible? Are you convincing yourself that you're not a good choice? Are you convincing yourself that you can't do something? Says who? It doesn't matter. Can you figure stuff out? I know you can, because otherwise you wouldn't be attached to any of the stuff that I put out, because I only work with brilliant people who you are great at what you do, but you also are smart. So you can figure stuff out. Of course you can. You just might not have been in a lot of practice doing that because the devil's a liar and he's been punching you down. I'm telling you right now, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. So that night, so I had literally like an hour to get this up. And so I said, okay, I'm going to charge even more than what I told him. Because now I was like, now I'm going to do my research. Now I'm going to see what is possible. Now I'm going to see what the value actually is. Like, I was willing to give him a deal. But now I am going to figure out exactly how to position this car in the market. So that's what I did. Now, I'm very fast at research. So again, these are the reason why I can move so fast is because I have experience, I have knowledge, I have skills, I have expertise, I have wisdom, and I have God on my side. We all have God on our side if we actually are being used in the way that God wants us to be used. So because I was open to, okay, I'm going to do this. How quickly can I get this done? How much more can we receive? That's what happened. So I priced it. So the Lord is saying, give prices. So He offered me, I think, like $3,000 for this car. We wanted, I think, 8,000, willing to go to 7. I priced it at 10. It was a 2008 or 2009, okay, Toyota Venza. I had no idea that those were like the hot ticket, okay? And it had been in a major car accident, like $14,000 worth of damage. And yet I had over 100 messages asking to buy this car. I had to turn the ad off. Like I had to turn the thing to pending, even though it wasn't pending, because I had so many messages to get through. Because remember, I said I had a limited timeline. I had about an hour. So I posted the ad in 3 different places, just because, again, opening myself up to where could this money come in from? Where could this person be looking from? And open them. And then I literally had to go because we were going for a family dinner. And my phone blew up during dinner. It was just like, now I have do not disturb, but every time I happened to like move my phone into a different pocket or take it off the table because we were doing like electronic menus, it was like, I thought, whoa, what is happening? Well, when God breathes on something, he moves fast. So guess what happened to the used car dealer? He sent my husband a text and said, great job on the ad, because he thought my husband did it. Big mistake. Right? And so he said, great job on the ad. And he saw the price that I had listed that car for. And I know that he knew in that moment that he, like the phrase that's coming to mind right now is he had been played. But that wasn't our intent, right? Our intent was literally to give him the car at what we felt was a fair price. And it was, right? It was a really good price, but he was trying to gouge us. Now, that's no reflection on car dealers or car dealerships or car salesmen or anything like that. He was trying to do what he needed to do in order to make the biggest profit for himself. I can't fault him for that, because as a business owner, if people don't know, then they don't know, right? And that's why every opportunity, the first time that I have ever sold something, I sold at a loss or just break even. And I realized, oh, I could have made more on that, right? And sometimes that's all we can receive. We are not willing to receive more, even though we've invested more, right? Because we're not open to what can I get out of this investment. It's just, we need to stair step that in and be like, okay, let me just learn this much. Let me learn this much. Let me learn this much. Am I comfortable with this? Am I comfortable with that? Right? Such that if I was to tell you, would you spend $1,000 to learn a system that could help you to get the next 10K faster? Some of you are going to go, yeah, sign me up, because of what I've just taught here. And others are still going to be skeptical and say, but how? But how can I do that? Right? Well, can you do anything? That's up to you to decide, right? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? Knowing that sometimes the path is not always clear cut, even with instructions, even with step-by-step, even with like, here's how we want to do this, that at the end of the day, we can't account for every single possibility out there. We still have to be resourceful enough that we can figure things out on our own, right? So he did not need to send that text, but he did. And as a result, I knew that he knew. I knew that he knew. And I knew that he realized, oh, I should have bought the car when I had the opportunity, because she's going to get her price and then some. And we did. Now, the price that we actually sold the car for, and it could have kept going, but I got what I needed. We got the amount that we needed. We didn't need to have it keep going up and up and up and up, right? Because truthfully, it was a lot of energy. It was a lot of going back and forth, because when I sell something, I respond to people in the way that I want to be responded to. And that means I sent a message to every single person, even if they weren't going to get the car, even if their bid was well below, because people were trying to barter, as they do on, Facebook Marketplace. And I can't remember the other ones that I put it on, Craigslist, Kijiji, right? And so one person got very angry with me because they thought I was scamming people by having the amount go over what I had listed it for. And I said, okay. I said, you follow God. How dare you talk about God? And then you're trying to scam people out of more. Like, you should not be accepting more than the $10,000 that you listed the ad for. And I said, excuse me? Excuse me? What? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Even if I didn't follow God, but especially because I follow God, my God gives me exceedingly abundantly more than I could ever ask, say, or think. And because I follow God, of course I get more. But even from a logical perspective, if somebody is going to pay $12,000 for something that you have for sale for 10, and you have multiple people wanting to buy the same thing, and you only got one, what would you do? What would you do? Right? Are you going to be like, nope, I got what I want? Now, some of you might, right? Some of you might be like, you know what? It needs to be quick. I got a deadline. Like, I'll take the first one that's at the price. Done. But we see this in the marketplace with stocks. Hello, NVIDIA, right? It's way over what people would think, because this is what's happening. There's a perception of increased value, right? We see this when we have really hot property markets, when people get into bidding wars for a house. There's only one house and there's multiple people that want the same thing. They're going to pay whatever the market will bear, right? Now, could I have kept going up? Yes, I could have. There were people traveled to come and get this car, to want to try and look at it, right? But the person who bought it came sight unseen. Sight unseen. Didn't even drive it. Nothing. Just, here's a check. Done. Thank you, ma'am. That's so fast. It was the next day. It was the next day. Right? People wanted to send me money. I'm telling you right now, this is for somebody on here, because I wasn't planning to go this long for this particular topic, but clearly with all of the stuff going on, I couldn't get on here for like 90 minutes and I look over here because my computer, my original laptop is not working. And that's what precipitated the turn of this conversation today, because I had a very specific, like, if you could invest $1,000 and know that you would get back $10,000 in value, in knowledge, in understanding and learning and experience and in wisdom, because oftentimes we're so busy chasing after a gamble, right? Like, okay, you buy this and you might get this. And that's not to say that every single thing that you will purchase, you're going to get like this equals that, this equals that. But if you invest in yourself, if you count on you as the best choice to back yourself up, that you are convicted and convinced of your own value, that from that lens, then you make the other decisions that are going to keep showing up. Because, I mean, you can Google this. It's like tens of thousands of decisions that we're faced with every single day. Imagine that you had the conviction that you are the best decision maker ever, because you're the best investment. And because you have the skills, the knowledge, the expertise, and the experience to keep learning from what you did before, such that you can improve, that you're going to just keep going, right? That you're not going to make the same mistakes over and over again, because there is no such thing as doing that. You're learning because you are the best investment of yourself. Does this make sense? Right? I could very much be frustrated today and be like, ugh, this isn't working. Well, I wanted to say this, but how does that serve me? And then by proxy, how does that serve you? Right? This is a lesson. Do I know what the lesson is yet? No. Do I need to care about what the lesson is? No, unless God tells me otherwise, right? But it is my responsibility to fix this. It is my responsibility, right? And so when I take ownership of that, because this is an investment into me, my future, my peace of mind, my business, because that is an instrument that I use to help me run my business, then I need to look at what's going on there, right? Can I blame lots of different things? Sure, I could. But does that help me to get ahead? Or does that just expend more energy and more effort and diminish my faith? It creates more fear, worry, doubt, frustrations, anxiety. Like it invites that into my atmosphere, right? Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so when I spend the time declaring and decreeing that no matter what, I'm unbothered, no matter what, I will not be moved, no matter what, everything is working out for my highest good and power. And it is my responsibility to keep moving forward regardless, to not allow the obstacles to get in my way, because an investor does not think short term. And a short term action and reaction is, oh, I can't do it. It's not working. Like, that's not what I wanted it to look like. Who cares? Right? It's not how I wanted it to look like. It's not how I wanted it to flow today, but it's how it is. And so how can I make the best of it? That's taking lemons and turning it into lemonade. That's taking a pitfall, which is, and making that into a pivot. I pivoted by grabbing my kiddo's laptop, which was dead, giving myself some patience in saying, he has a different model of laptop than I do, similar, but still different. I'm not familiar with exactly how it all works, but I figured it out. And it wasn't perfect, not by any stretch of the imagination, but it was good enough. Right? Sometimes you just need good enough to get going. And wherever you are in the investment journey, if we pull this back into an actual but what about investment, Susan? It doesn't matter what you invest in, because it's always going to be changing and shifting as you evolve, shift, and change. And so if you are attached to this idea that you have like the next hot stock tip, or you're going to make piles of money, right? When moon in crypto, if you're the one that's like, oh, you're fudding, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's a very common term in the Web3 space. Then you are constantly going to be chasing after something and looking for an answer that's outside of yourself. And does that mean that you can't invest in real estate, in properties, in other businesses, in your own business, in people, in places, in things, and experiences, and in, gold and silver, so precious metals, commodities, like all of this stuff? No, you can invest in all of it. But if you are chasing after the investment as the answer, then we have misguided and misdirected focus. The attention is in the wrong space. And that's why the Bible is very clear that a rich man doesn't get to enter heaven. It's not because of the riches. It's because you're so attached to the pathway. You're so attached to the things that they are like anchors. They're like a noose around your neck. And it prevents you from actually being more open to actually receiving what it is that you're meant to receive, because you have a limited viewpoint of how it gets to be. Does this make sense? So if you can open yourself up and think like truly abundant investors, because not everybody who invests has a lot of money. Not everybody who invests is prosperous and profitable. And not everybody who invests is both rich and wealthy, right? And not everybody who invests is also seeing it in all areas of their life. With, we call this the fruits of the spirit. So you sacrifice your peace of mind, you sacrifice your joy, right? You see this with a lot of day traders. They sit there and they're like, oh my God, am I going to lose some money? Oh my God, am I going to make some money? Like, who has time for that? And there's others. That's why Warren Buffett will, at this point, it doesn't look like he's ever going to retire, because he loves what he does. He finds joy. He finds peace. He has discipline around it, right? So he demonstrates what it is to live a life and a legacy from a perspective of what it means to be not just an investor, but an investor that receives the fruit of his labors and then some, right? And the bulk of his wealth actually came later in life, not at the front end, because the front end is where you just literally are planting seeds and setting the foundation for how you build. But once you've learned those skills, the knowledge and the experience, and you've made your mistakes, right? If you missed the story I shared where, all of a sudden in a year, this turned into 400,000, didn't expect it, and fell flat on my face. It's still partly there, but certainly not the 400K, right? Because the market goes up and down. And in this particular opportunity, I did not see it for what it was, because I was attached to how it needed to come into my circle, into my atmosphere, into my receiving capacity, right? And I know that lesson, and it took me a while. Let me just be honest. It took me a while. It took me a while, because I was like in pity city for a little bitty. But I thought, wow, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have learned this lesson personally. Like, before it turned into millions, before it was 4 million, before it was 40 million, before it was 400 million, before it was 4 billion, right? Like, before it was up and up and up and up, that I can see it for what it is, because it also showed me that I was still attached to the outcome. I was still attached to the pathway. I was still attached to how I got to receive. I was still attached to the actual material amount itself, which I didn't expect, right? And you won't know until you know. Like, and sometimes it means that you have to touch the fire to be able to say, oh yeah, that is hot. That in the theory of it, you can understand as much as you think that you can understand, but until you're in the doing of it, you actually aren't on the field. You're not in the game. You're not even playing. You're just looking at the rules, right? And so now in this season, what I want to encourage all of us to do, and you can let me know if that's you in the comments, is, are you willing to play the game? Are you willing to go out and actually play? And that regardless, win, lose, or draw, regardless of whether or not you stub your nose or you stub your toe or you bang your head a couple of times and you get bruised and battered and a little bloody, that you're willing to keep getting up, because you understand that until you keep playing the game, there is no winner, right? And if you are a believer, victory is already declared. You still have to be on the field, right? Joshua still had to go and circle Jericho 6 times. On the seventh time is when the walls fell down and he got to take the city. He knew that in advance, but I guarantee in the doing of it, he would have been like, oh my gosh, is this the right thing to do? Like, am I really crazy? Is this going to work? Because imagine going around. It was a whole city, right? So it wasn't just like a mile. It was 7 rounds of this, going around and going around, not saying a peep, not knowing, is this going to work? I don't know if it is. Did I hear God? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? And that's what happens when you're an investor. You don't always know if it's going to work. You don't even know if that's the thing that's going to work, right? Just because you've made an investment in a stock that has been going up, there's no guarantee that it's going to keep going up. You have to be okay to make that investment and to do it over and over and over again, such that you know that you're going to be able to do what it is that you want to do, right? That you can't be attached to how that's going to come in, that you can't be so stuck on, well, this is how I've always done business. Well, the last time I tried to launch, it didn't work. Well, I don't think the people in my audience that they're going to pay thousands of dollars. Oh my gosh. Well, the unemployment, inflation, like all of this stuff is going on in the world, Susan. Like, how in the world am I supposed to be making lots and lots of money? Listen, There's people making millions, billions of dollars still right now. The world has not stopped. It's going to keep moving forward. You have not stopped buying stuff, right? Have you had to be mindful? Sure. But shouldn't we always be mindful about how we spend? Like, isn't that a good thing? Isn't it a good thing for us to pay attention to how we steward our finances and the gifts that we've been given, and to make sure that we're being appropriate with how we're directing our finances, the quality of the foods that we eat, the caliber of the relationships that we keep, the people that we invest in, which really is an investment in ourselves. So it's a reflection of us, right? When I invest in a course, that course is not the thing. It is a reflection of me and where I want to be, right? And learning to create shortcuts so that I can receive faster. So that if I receive one thing, even out of a $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 program, course, or experience, that one thing, if it saves me, right? Like because I just shared with you just a high level overview, right? But there's certain things that I know that I needed to do differently, and that I am doing differently, that will never have me experience a high like that and then crash. There's certain steps that I will do differently, and I broke some of my own rules. I did not put those parameters in place. Partly because I was leading from emotion. I was personally invested. I literally, it was connected to somebody that I cared for, right? And that personal relationship clouded my judgment, as it often does, right? We have a hard time discerning for the things that are the closest to us. And that's why even in business, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. It's helpful to have people outside of you. But this is where the people outside of you can also say, hey, that person, I don't know that like, parents see this all the time with their kids. I'm not sure about that kid. Right? Meanwhile, your kid's like, can we have another sleepover, or can we just go and hang out? And you're like, I don't know about that kid. Right? Because when we're the closest to them, we see the best in them. We only see what we want to see. And other people don't have that attachment. They don't have that attachment. So when you understand that you are your best investment, and that you can get over what's going on in the world around you, so that you can clear-headedly make decisions that are aligned to where you want to go, but also don't forget about where you are right now. Because if you make a decision that is meant for, 10 steps ahead of you, it's going to be really hard for you to get the outcome. Like, just from a logical, strategic perspective, those strategies won't work if you're not there yet, because there's groundwork that needs to be laid, right? And that's oftentimes what ends up happening, is we get frustrated with the person that we just purchased from, without being honest with ourselves and saying, was I ready to receive this? Am I ready? Am I prepared to do what it takes? And some people, they're ready and they're prepared to do the groundwork, right? And others are not. But only you can know that answer. I'll give you an example before we hop off here. Because I had a client when I was running Sell with More Ease live. And I was very specific. Most of the time, I say no to people. Like the vast majority of clients that I work with, I say no more often than I say yes. That is not because I'm elitist. It's because I want what's best for both of us. It's frustrating to not help the right people. And it's frustrating for you to invest and not be able to see any of what you want until much later. Now, sometimes you're going to do what you're going to do, which is fine. And that's what happened in this situation, which is why I'm sharing this. So this is for somebody on here, whether you're live or on the replay, because I was about to hop off. So she wasn't yet ready for Sell with More Ease. Sell with More Ease is when you already have sales conversations and they're not converting. They're not converting well. They're converting, but you're like the perfect client that I had for that. She had 44 calls booked and only one said yes. Now she's a lead generation specialist. And so the leads were not the issue. right? The last 2 days, we've been talking about why leads are not created equal, or, why more leads does not equal more sales and more profit. So she had 44 turned into 1. That is dismal, even by industry standards. Industry standard benchmark, like if you just threw a dart to say, hey, will you buy my thing? You should be able to hit 1 out of 10. Okay. 1 out of 10. If you're talking the right language, the right people, and they're like remotely interested in what it is that you have to say, 1 out of 10 will say yes. Okay, that's just an industry standard conversion benchmark when you're selling high ticket, premium services, and you are selling through a conversation or some sort of interaction directly with the person. It doesn't have to be live. It could be through video. It could be through text. So that's like 0.008%. She was a perfect client for that program. And the minute she went in, she went back to her existing leads, 7 of them, and signed up 4. Okay. There was another client who did not yet have calls booked. She was early on. And I said, this is not the best fit for you, because I'm not really teaching you how to get those calls booked. There's a module in there, but unless you already have experience getting calls, unless you already have experience with, being able to attract the right people to you, then this is not going to be enough. And so we were on a quick 15-minute decision-making call, right? Because I said, I don't want you to go in this if this is not the best investment for you. And I gave her the information, and I said, okay, in my opinion, this might be too early for you, right? She did it anyways. Now, number one, it was the only time that I was doing it live, right? And so I wanted for her to get better conversion rates. That was the outcome. That was the promise of the program. Everybody got that except for this lady, which I suspected, right? Now, I could have projected that on her. We could have projected that together. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the biggest transformation for her, which was unexpected to me, maybe not to her, because I think she, thankfully she trusted her gut, was that she got exactly what she needed. She got what she wanted, which was to learn how to sell and to be able to do it with ease. And for her, the starting point of that was not about converting more people into paying customers. It was about her having confidence in being able to even have a conversation in the first place, and to be able to promote and market herself in a way that was congruent to how she wanted to be. So that investment, like if I had talked her out of that, which I'll be fully transparent, I tried because I thought I knew better than her. And that's why I'm saying you are your best investment, because only you knows you. And so if something is aligned, if you know for sure that it's for you, like because shortly here, well, and the Holy Spirit has asked me to put it on here because I couldn't get my video up. I'm looking for 10 people, right? I'm looking for 10 ambitious women that can and have the opportunity to create an additional 10,000 in your business, right? Now, could this be in other ways? Possibly, but right now you need to have a business in order for this system strategy to work. An additional 10K, and it's in 30 days. Okay, 10 spots. If that's you, send me a message over on Instagram. Just DM me and say like 10K. And that way I know, okay, this is what this offer is for, because I'm a little bit woozy here in the spirit. And sometimes I say stuff because the Holy Spirit is guiding me. And then I'm like, I don't know what I just said. I don't recall it because it wasn't me doing all of the talking. It was divinely guided by the Holy Spirit. So that opportunity, I tried to talk her out of that. And thank God that she knew herself well enough that she said, I believe in myself. And I believe that you, Susan, have the thing that I need. And it may not come through in the exact step-by-step of what you're teaching, because I might not be able to implement it. And she wasn't ready to implement all the pieces, but she showed up to every single call. She did every single assignment as best as she could. She like asked the best questions. She showed up fully for herself. And in full transparency, I expected none of that. I expected none of that. Not to say that I had low standards for her, but I just wasn't sure how she would apply it. And so I was curious. I really was. And I was very captivated by how she demonstrated conviction in herself and the belief that no matter what it was, no matter what the words were, that she was going to turn what I perceived to be lemons into lemonade. And that what I perceived to be a shortfall, a pitfall for her, she was able to pivot that so beautifully into a way that created such value, not just for her, but for everybody else in the program and also for me, right? And so I am very grateful that Holy Spirit is bringing that lesson to my mind, because I actually didn't even think of this. Like this is all divinely led. That when we're so attached to this is how it has to be for our students, that we miss out on opportunities of how they get to participate and bring their own unique blend of gifts, talents, experiences. And this happens even if you're not involved, even if you're not running a live program or a group program or something where you're having to interact with people, that the essence of you and your experience and your knowledge and expertise, that is coming together to combine into something that's more beautiful, because where two or more are gathered, there he is, right? That there is something extra. Look at that, the light of God is outside. Did you see that? I don't know if you can notice this, like all of a sudden the lights got brighter. That I don't have any other lights aside from the top. The top, that's from outside. Oh, thank you, Jesus. So to be able to understand that is a limiting, like that we limit ourselves, right? Where we're like, no, this is how it has to be because this is how I designed it and how I planned it. And it's like, but what if we were allowing more opportunities and more abundance and more possibility? And that beyond that, if you were to invest $1,000 and you were willing to do the work to see how could this turn into 10,000? I know that there's a plan. I know that I will follow what I feel led to follow, but I'm going to trust myself in this moment more than anybody else, more than their system, more than their tools, more than the course, more than the step-by-step, more than the blueprints, right? That those are all well and good. But at the end of the day, if I don't trust myself, if I don't believe that I know myself well enough to deliver on whatever outcomes that I desire, right? And it could be beyond 10,000. You could go from that to 100, right? I had a client do that because she was open to receiving it. She was open to receiving it. That if you're faced with the opportunity, what are you going to do? And it's okay if right now the answer is, I don't know. And it's okay if the answer is right now, I'm not going to do it, right? We all have those moments where we are challenged and we have to face our biggest fears, frustrations, uncertainties, the worries. Like these are all teachers. They're there in order for you to say, I'm the boss. And God does not give us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. So can you take hold of the power that you still have within you to say, here's what I choose to do regardless, right? Or are you going to allow that fear, the worry, the uncertainty, the doubt, the comparisons, but I can't do this. Says who? Says who, right? You're the best. Like, I'm giving you a real life example today of it was difficult for me to get this going. It was difficult for me to even show up because of technology. And I could have used that as an excuse. I could have said, it's too hard. I could have said, the enemy is coming at me today. I could have said, I'm under attack. I could have said all sorts of things, but I chose to believe that if God gave me this idea, which he did, right, multiple times to go live, that the devil is a liar and my own thoughts sometimes will betray me because it's dealing from old paradigms. And I have to continually break off of that so that I can challenge myself to be open to what else am I going to be able to receive? What else is God trying to share or send or give to me, right? And if you are right now on the fence about something, this is for somebody, I don't know who, right? That the best investors make decisions fast. Anytime that I have hemmed and hawed, and I'm not talking about waiting on God, right? I'm not talking about being still in the moment. I'm talking about you are flipping and flopping and this or that. And the Bible is very clear about a double-minded man can't be trusted, right? You can't trust yourself because you're flipping and flopping and flipping and flopping and flipping and flopping. And you're going this way and this way and this way and this way. And you probably turned yourself inside out and upside down. Just make a decision. Does it matter which one? No, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you believe Romans 8:28, that all things work together for the good of those who love him, that it literally doesn't matter. Jesus, that was a whole revelation. Does that make sense? Like if you either believe God or you don't. And if you believe God, then you have to believe that all things, not just 99%, not just 20%, not just 1%, but 100,000 million percent, all things work together for the good of those who love him. And that means even when you don't understand, even when you don't get it yet, even when you can't see the full depth of what is about to transpire, that you have to have, this is a place where your faith is going to be challenged, and that you have to have the conviction and the knowing that it's being worked out. Because if you don't have the outcome yet, God's not done. If you don't have the outcome yet, God's not done. Somebody write that in the comments. My God, that was good. Right? Because that's the point. That's the point of faith. Faith is the substance of things that cannot be seen. If you don't see it yet, you need faith. You have to use your faith. And if you don't see it yet, it's because God is still working on it. End of story, period. And on that note, we are going to end. If you have joined late, please feel free to watch the replay. Replay is probably going to be easiest over on YouTube. This is over on my personal page. Yeah. So make sure that you grab my 6-figure blueprint, which, side note, that's one of the reasons why my computer not working. I know that particular blueprint, you're not receiving it yet. So send me an email if you're having a challenge. Just know that when all the technology is working, that is being fired up. Okay, so just please know, I can't adjust that right now. So 6-figure blueprint is over at susanmcveigh.com/blueprint. You won't get it right away. I apologize in advance. I'm sorry. I'm working on it, which is why this is not a surprise to me, all of this technology stuff, because I've been working on a whole bunch of stuff and it's all being worked on all at the same time. And the devil is a liar. If you want to grab my ABCs of Building Wealth ebook, that is over at susanmcveigh.com/wealth. It is the foundations of what I believe everybody should know. It's what I spent a career teaching people. People have paid me upwards of $1,500 for 1 hour learning this information, and you get it for a fraction of that cost. And more importantly, you'll get results when you do it. You'll get results, which is really the most important thing. So again, I had shared earlier at some point in here, because Holy Spirit asked me, and he's asked me to remind everybody, if you want help. So I'm looking for 10 people, 10 ambitious women. If you're a business owner right now and you have the capacity to make an additional $10,000 in your business, and this is not a get rich quick, but it's quick, in the next 30 days, you have to be willing and I hate saying obedient, but that's what the word that's coming up to me is: willing and obedient, you shall eat the fruit of the land, right? But you have to be willing. You have to be obedient to yourself more than me, because you know you're the boss of you. But if you have the ability to take on more customers or clients, because I don't know the nature of your business, such that an additional $10,000 in your business right now would make sense in the next 30 days, right? So this is not for everybody. And I want you to send me a message, 10K. Okay, that's the message, just so that I can keep it straight. Some of you already sent me messages from other videos. Thank you. I am trying to respond, but being prayerful and thoughtful about how I respond. This one here is immediate. Okay, so you'll know without any other information, because I'm moving as quick as I can. As you know, or maybe you don't know, my computer is down. So this is going to look ugly. Like, it literally is going to be no sales page, just a you and me conversation, whatever it takes. But we got to go fast. And so if you know that you're behind the 8 ball in terms of you need to get going and God has asked you to do something, because this is with God. So if you've done business differently, if you have been doing business with God just half in, half out, or not even all at all, this is going to be different. I can't even explain to you how, but I know for sure that there's 10, because that's the number he gave me in the shower. It's just like, there's 10 of you that need to move and get going. And you have the capabilities and the capacity and the opportunity, and you know you do. You've already been in conversations with yourself and with God to say, hey, what's going on? And you need to move quickly, and you're not willing to wait any longer. This is the clarion call. This is the opportunity. Yeah, send me a message, 10K. We're going to do it God's way. This is a leap of faith for me too. I will tell you, because we're moving by faith and not by sight, right? What is that song? So I want you to go out and do something hard today. I want you to go out and do something that is unexpected today. I want you to go and do something that challenges your existing beliefs today. This video was meant to go at 1 o'clock. My computer did not want to cooperate. Instead of getting frustrated, and I spent over an hour trying to fix it, instead of getting frustrated, I let it go. I'm letting God take care of it. I still have to take action, but I know that it's taken care of. I'm not even concerned. Is it annoying? Yes, it is. It's very annoying. But I took the time to be grateful, to praise, to worship, to sing, to dance, so that I could show up for myself first. And then from the overflow of that, from the overflow of my faith, to be able to sit here and share with you. And whatever the message was for you, I don't know. Feel free to add it in the comments below, because I think it's helpful for other people to get those aha moments. But beyond that, I share all this because I want to help you to understand that nobody has it perfect. Nobody has it all figured out, and nobody has it so done that, like that, right? That it's going to turn out exactly as you think. It just doesn't. That's not life. But can you show up anyways? Can you do it anyways? Can you challenge yourself that no matter what, you can still count on yourself, right? Because I am my best investment. I know that you are too. You are your best investment. And so if you're willing to do what you need to do, I don't know what that takes, but you do, right? And to challenge where you've been so that you can go someplace you've never been before. That's the call. That's the next, right? And so not everybody is going to answer this call, and that's okay. But for those of you that continue, right, this free series is part of my showing up and doing something differently to be able to give freely, because some of you, that's all you need, and that's great. But others, you need more, and that's great too. So over on YouTube, let me just move that. So video will be left up on Instagram. Videos going to be up on YouTube. That would be my preference for how you rewatch this, but you do you. I personally find it a little annoying that Instagram has removed the fast forward and the reverse feature so that you can't, go back and replay something that you're like, oh wait, I need to go back and just re-listen to that piece. And yet they've put in all these goofy features like adding a note to somebody's profile. Why IG? Like, why Meta? Come on, get with the program here. Like, how does that feature help anybody? Help anybody? If you're using it and you love it, let me know, because I don't see its usefulness. So with that, we will be back tomorrow. I don't know if I'll have an update on my computer, hopefully, but regardless, it's all working out for our good. So I wish you well, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.